I'm Andreas Wiseman, Deadline's international editor, and I am thrilled to be here today with the legendary producer, Tarak Ben Ammar, producer, distributor, mogul, as I saw you described recently in the
I
press.
don't know who did that one. I didn't.
It was a rival trade. We won't
Okay.
say
Well,
who. Tarak, how are you? How are things?
thank God. We are well, all of us, because we live in a difficult world.
Mhm.
We are an elite. And if we aren't well, we should never say we are not. But I am truly well and thankful.
I'm glad to hear it, and we are also thankful. We're thankful for you to be here. How is your festival going? Do you know this festival? Have you been to Saudi
Yes.
before?
Yes. I was on the board of the Red Sea Film Festival, and I assisted them in the first year. So I did come the first year. I couldn't come the second year because I was shooting in Italy in the Amalfi Coast Equalizer 3 that we produced with Sony. And so I came, of course, here. I've been to Saudi Arabia since I'm around 20 years old. I'm now 74, so it's been 50 years. There's a reason for that. My family was in politics. My uncle was president of Tunisia from 57 to 87. And of course, I would accompany them sometimes to these new horizons, the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, of course, Kuwait and Abu Dhabi. And I'm fascinated to see what they've done with oil. It's really, to their credit, an incredible thing. And now what they're doing for culture and for cinema. So I was lucky to have met the Crown Prince in 2016. And then in 2019, the Minister of Culture, Prince Badr, came to see me in Paris and said, look, you've created an industry in your country, Tunisia. You've put it on the map. You've created thousands and thousands of jobs and brought more than 60 movies and film studios. Can you assist us and give us advice on what to do? I'm here for that, to try and pass the ball to this new generation of Arabs who have the means and the passion and the vision and the desire to do something. And if I can help, I would be very happy.
I'm sure they're very happy to have your input, of course. And as you say, I mean, you came here decades ago. The change, I mean, to see it now, to be walking around, it must be unrecognizable completely.
It's like having seen Vegas 100 years ago. The same evolution, and there are pictures of that, of course, of Jeddah and Riyadh. And it's fascinating what they are doing and what will do for the young people. And what's incredible, look, it's 38 million people, 70% of them under 30 years old. So in our world, films or television, it's, I would say, the 1920s, California. That's what's going to happen. What happened to Hollywood in the early 20s? Well, that's what's happening in Saudi. Therefore, studios, Neom, El Ola, and of course, Red Sea Film Festival, and so much more, because they have a market and they have a youth that is hungry for entertainment who hasn't had cinema, I guess, only 3 years ago. Think about that.
Yeah.
So the Saudi audience is an infant of 3 years old, which will grow very fast. And it is quite fascinating to be part of that, as I'm sure our forefathers were in California, you know, in Charlie Chaplin with the silent and then went into the sound. California must have been that, with new horizons, a new market, new means. And this is quite interesting for me to see that historical change.
It's a cultural gold rush. Tarak, tell us about what's keeping you busy recently. What is taking up your time? You obviously have many interests in Italy, and particularly with Eagle Pictures, but you're
Yes.
also getting into the physical space, studio
Yes,
space.
well, when I bought the studios in Paris,
Yeah.
I was one of the founders with Luc Besson, a dear friend. And when he had to sell to fund, I offered them to stay, and I saw that the studio demand was exponential. So we bought the studios in Paris, and they're doing very well. Murder Mystery, Emily in Paris, and all kinds of series. And then Italy, when I shot Equalizer and many more, Cinecittà was full. There are not enough sound stages, so I said, well, why don't I create a studio, but in a different form of studio, not just servicing other people, but because of the tax credit and because we're the leading distributor in Italy, independent, and we have Paramount and Sony. I thought, well, maybe we can put together financing, co-production, bring the studios, use the tax credit to create European films and or American movies, Equalizer being one of them. I have a few big ones with Sony that I intend to do now that the strike is over. And having a foot in the U.S., as you know, having acquired with a group of investors the library from the bankrupt Weinstein company, we put together with Gary Barber and Warner Brothers and Lionsgate, Spyglass Media. So we have Upside and the Scream franchise, and recently Thanksgiving, a new franchise, smaller budget that we're doing, and it's doing well for that kind of. So yes, a foot in America, a foot in France, a foot in Italy, of course, which is the base of my company, a foot in Tunisia, where I still have my studios, and they are full with Arab series, with NBC, for example, and here, hopefully, doing things with them to develop the industry. And I'm in discussion with both the Film Commission, the Minister of Culture, and some private investors, because the private market here is extremely wealthy. So I'm trying to assist them to invest in films and building an industry. Yeah.
As you say, you have these lucrative deals with Sony and Paramount, which
Yes.
are great in Italy. The Italian box office has been challenged
Very
since
challenged.
COVID, in particular in
Yes.
Europe. What's your outlook? What are the prospects, you think? What can we say about the prospects for that box office?
The big movies always work. It's those small Italian films or European films that don't find an audience, with a few exceptions. The actress Cortellesi did a little beautiful little movie that did 25 million euros, so that's an exception. I think the mistake the Italians made is the exhibitors. Contrary to Spain and France, who really developed the quality of exhibitors the way they do it here, the Italian exhibitors didn't invest, and so they're old, and you don't really want to be in these. So that's going to be the challenge, really. And also the streamers, right? A lot of films that used to be in cinemas now are being seen in streamers, which is the case everywhere, but I would say Italy. That is why I'm not just a distributor. Originally, I am a producer. I bought a distribution company because I wanted to learn that business. And of course, we own 4,000 titles. So owning libraries allows you to create cash flow to be able to produce your movies. But we co-produce and co-finance some big movies for the international audience and some Italian films, of course.
The status of the Sony and Paramount deals right now, are they multi-year, going on?
Yes, they're multi-year. You know, as you know, with these companies, you're as good as they keep you if you're good, and they don't keep you if you're not. So far, we're doing great. They're very happy with the films they're giving us good movies. But we also know how to position. Not all American movies necessarily work in every territory, as you know. So my team gives it an Italian. We didn't think Napoleon was going to work. It's really working, right? Because usually period movies in Italy don't work. So we're Saw is doing well, and Thanksgiving is doing well. Of course, all the big movies did well, and we hope to have a few more coming in. Yeah.
And just on Equalizer, what was your connection exactly? How did you?
Well, my relationship with Tom Rothman from way back when he was at Fox. And when I became their distributor, I said, look, I would like to be a partner investing in some important films. Because we don't have access, we Europeans, to franchises, right? So we did 2 movies. We did Lyle Crocodile and Equalizer. Now we have 2 more big ones that I can't say, but we will announce in January. And at the same time, we signed a 5-picture deal for remakes of American movies in Italy, or IPs that they own in Italy. So we've just finished 2 of those. So the relationship is quite good. Distribution, co-financing of big movies, and co-production.
That's a deal with Sony.
For Sony.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you touched on it slightly there, but your next steps, what's going to keep you busy in early 2024? What are the big projects for you?
I have 2 very big projects. with Sony, but because they're big, I cannot mention. But they will mention it fast. And I'm continuing to develop. For example, with Spyglass, we have the American English version of Perfect Strangers, that huge Italian success that was remade in 28 countries, including the Middle East. So we're casting that one now that the strike is over.
That will be
The
English,
American
the
English
American
version,
one.
yes.
Okay.
We took an Italian,
Yeah.
English-speaking director called Carlo Carlei, who made Romeo and Juliet, made a lot of stuff, and he lives in LA and in Rome. So we're going to make that in Italy. However, it's situated in New York in terms of the story. And we have a few other big projects that we are producing and co-producing with Sony and, of course, with other people.
Anything in the region we should be aware of coming up?
I have a big movie that I'm trying to bring here for a part of, not the whole movie, but as you saw, they're building up. The region needs to build up crews. It still doesn't have what I did in Tunisia. 68 movies, 1 million people working on my movies. I trained people, and I asked foreign directors, all of them, whether it's George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, Polanski, the Italians, Zeffirelli. I said, look, we'll help you make the movie. We'll be inexpensive. We'll try and protect you. Take a technician in every department so that when you leave behind your expertise. And so they're doing this now with all these big producers coming here, and they have the money here to finance, to co-finance, and I think that's quite impressive. They've just created a culture fund that they announced in Cannes, which is, so I'm very optimistic to be part, to make sure that they go the right way, that they don't get used for their money only. Money's important, but expertise and knowledge, and they're smart. They know what they're doing.
Well, you are certainly smart and know what you're doing. And going right back to, I was telling my colleagues, Raiders, Life of Brian, Star Wars, you've been there, done it, and got the T-shirt. So
Yes,
we thank you for your time. It's been great to speak to you.
Thank you.